For years, textbooks claimed Homo erectus emerged fully formed, big-brained, and advanced about 1.8 million years ago in Africa. But a fossil locked away in an Ethiopian museum just shattered that certainty. Its face is primitive, its teeth old-fashioned, yet it sits in the shadow of our supposedly modern ancestors. If the official story missed this, what else about our origins have we been getting wrong? For decades, the story of Homo erectus seemed straightforward. Around 1.8 million years ago, a new species appeared in Africa, distinct from its ancestors, equipped with a larger brain and a face that set it apart from earlier hominins. Fossils from Kenya, like KNMER 3733, defined this textbook image. These skulls showed a brain volume approaching 850 cubic centimeters, a thick brow ridge, and a projecting nasal bridge. Teeth were smaller and jaws less robust than those of Homo habilis, signaling a move toward the modern human pattern. The features were so consistent that scientists viewed the transition as almost abrupt, a leap from primitive to advanced, a clear dividing line in the fossil record. From this African base, Homo erectus was thought to have spread rapidly across the continent and into Eurasia, carrying a package of evolutionary upgrades that left earlier forms behind. The Kenyan fossils became the global benchmark. Their combination of brain size, facial structure, and dental proportions set the standard for what it meant to be Homo erectus. For generations, this tidy narrative shaped how researchers interpreted every new discovery. Any fossil that did not fit the Kenyan model was treated as a missing puzzle piece, not evidence of a different story. This clarity gave scientists confidence in the timeline and in the idea of a single, linear path from simple to complex. That certainty would soon be tested. In the year 2000, a team from the Gona Paleoanthropological Research Project uncovered a set of fossil fragments in Ethiopia's Afar region. The site, Dana Auli North, had already gained a reputation for its deep record of hominin fossils and ancient tools, some dating back more than 6 million years. This time, the team's attention settled on a partial skull, catalogued as Dan5P1, buried in sediments estimated between 1.6 and 1.5 million years old. The fragments included a brain case, 4 pieces of the face, and several teeth. Initial analysis of the brain case, completed 2 decades later, suggested a small-brained Homo erectus, but the rest of the story remained locked away. The 4 facial fragments were carefully stored at the National Museum of Ethiopia, their significance yet to be understood. For years, these pieces sat in drawers, labeled and catalogued, but not fully examined. The challenge was clear. Traditional methods could not piece together such delicate, incomplete remains without risking damage. The fragments held clues that could clarify or confuse what scientists thought they knew about early human evolution. Their dating placed them squarely within the era when Homo erectus was supposed to be at its most distinctive, yet the incomplete nature of the find left researchers hesitant to draw conclusions. In 2020, the brain case alone was classified as Homo erectus based on its shape and structure, but without the face, the picture was far from complete. The puzzle of Dan 5 lingered, a set of unanswered questions waiting for technology to catch up with curiosity. Inside a quiet lab, Dr. Karen Babb and her team prepared the Dan 5 facial fragments for a process that would bridge the gap between ancient bone and digital analysis. Each of the 4 pieces, delicate and irreplaceable, was placed in a micro-CT scanner, a device capable of capturing the internal and external structure of fossils at resolutions finer than a human hair. Unlike traditional X-rays, the micro-CT produced thousands of cross-sectional images, allowing the researchers to see every subtle ridge and fracture without risking further damage to the fossil. The resulting scans became the raw data for a new kind of investigation. Using specialized software, the team segmented the bone from the surrounding stone matrix, isolating each fragment in 3 dimensions. This careful digital separation meant that even the smallest anatomical details, like the shape of a tooth socket or the curve of a broken edge, could be preserved and measured. Once the fragments were fully segmented, the software generated detailed 3-dimensional meshes, transforming the ancient bone into virtual models that could be rotated, magnified, and studied from every angle. This stage was more than just data capture. It was the foundation for all that would follow. The digital meshes allowed the team to test how the pieces might fit together, free from the risk of physical handling. By capturing the fragments in such high detail, Dr. Babb's group ensured that nothing was lost, and every clue embedded in the fossil could be interrogated in the virtual realm. The DAN5 facial bones, silent for millennia, now existed as precise digital replicas, ready for the next phase of assembly. Piece by piece, the fragments of Dan5 came together on a computer screen, Every surface had to align with its neighbors, every curve checked and rechecked against the digital models. Dr. Karen Babb described the process as a very complicated three-dimensional puzzle, one where the original picture was lost to time and the stakes were measured in millimeters. The team relied on micro-computed tomography scans to guide their hands, using anatomical landmarks invisible to the naked eye. Tooth placement became a crucial reference, with roots fitting into sockets and the wear patterns on dental surfaces helping to position each element with precision. Small changes in alignment could shift the entire face, so the team ran multiple iterations, adjusting angles and connections until the fragments settled into a configuration that made anatomical sense. Months slipped by in cycles of digital assembly and review. Each round exposed new questions. Was a gap the result of missing bone, or had the pieces warped after burial? Could symmetry from the opposite side of the face offer a clue, or would it introduce new errors? The software allowed for reversals and fine-tuning, but the final decisions rested with the researchers' experience and anatomical knowledge. As the year wore on, the virtual skull began to take shape. A face, a brain case, and a set of teeth, all joined in a configuration that reflected both the fossil's history and the team's persistence. The completed cranium was more than the sum of its parts. It stood as proof of what careful, patient work could accomplish, even when the outcome was far from certain. When the final digital cranium appeared on screen, the reaction was immediate. Dr. Yusuke Kaifu, a leading paleoanthropologist, later said he would never forget the shock of seeing the reconstructed face and jaw for the first time. The brain volume, measured at just 598 cubic centimeters, fell squarely in the range of Homo habilis, not the larger-brained Homo erectus fossils from Kenya. The face broke every expectation, with a remarkably flat nasal bridge, a broad infraorbital region, and large molars that clustered with much older human ancestors. Yet the brain case itself was long and low, with a thick projecting brow, and it remained unmistakably Homo erectus. For the first time in Africa, a fossil presented this mosaic: primitive facial features joined to a derived vault, a combination that upended the textbook model. The success of the reconstruction was clear, but the implications left the team searching for answers. The DN5 fossil surfaced in a layer rich with both Oldowan flakes and early Acheulean hand axes. Two tool traditions scientists once thought belonged to separate chapters of human evolution. Dr. Sailesh Semau called this the earliest direct association of both tool types with a single hominin fossil. The paradox is hard to ignore. A skull with primitive features, yet hands capable of making advanced tools. This challenges the idea that anatomical change and technological innovation always moved in lockstep. The evidence at Gona suggests that populations with small brains and archaic faces could still master complex behaviors. Some researchers now consider whether these groups were shaped by genetic mixing between classic Homo erectus and earlier Homo habilis. With so few fossils from the critical window between 1 and 2 million years ago, the debate over where and how these transitions happened remains wide open. Today, even textbook certainties can change with a single fossil. As new discoveries disrupt neat evolutionary stories, our own origins look less like a straight line and more like a tangled web. Evolution's real story is still unfolding, and every bone still has a voice. What is your take?